Howdy folks, I'm Playful Pegasus, perfectly perching on prized pyramids.
I'm Amber.
And here are more prized pyramids for us to perch upon. Because that's what we do if you have wings and you're a flying horse, I guess. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Threatening to Dispose of My Late Brother's Things Despite My Nephew's Protests? This is a sad time. I'm a 42-year-old female, and my younger brother, a 39-year-old male, and his wife, a 37-year-old female, passed away in a car crash half a year ago. They sadly left their son, my nephew, Dylan, a 16-year-old male, behind. They thankfully had no debt, and also left Dylan a paid-off house, a car, and their investment accounts. My brother and I haven't gone along, especially in the last 10 years of his life. We just drifted apart and became very different people, especially with our differing lifestyle choices. My brother's will wasn't updated in years, and it asked that if possible, after paying off any debts, that the rest of the estate was left to Dylan, and that me and my husband, a 46-year-old male, take guardianship of Dylan until he turned 18. Dylan seemed okay with this arrangement, since I live close enough for him to go to the same school. Dylan, unfortunately, is the product of his parents. He is polite enough, and his grades are good, not great. He doesn't go out with friends and cause trouble. The problem is that he doesn't agree with our household rules. We live a very strict diet in this house, and we don't keep any animal products. Dylan asked if it bothers us that much just to give him a mini fridge and a hot plate with his own food to cook meat in. I wanted to refuse, but my husband said that we have to be understanding. I hate how my back porch now smells like seared meat. Dylan also keeps a photo of the first time that he went hunting with my brother by his bedside. It's him when he was 12 with my brother, posing with a dead deer. It's super creepy, and I confessed my husband that I want to lose the photo when Dylan is at school, but my husband told me not to touch anything of Dylan's. The biggest problem that we had with Dylan came last week. We have been upkeeping my brother's house every week, the usual maintenance and utilities and property taxes. My brother had quite the collection of guns, as he was a hunter, things that we do not agree with. They make me nervous every time I go into the house. They are all locked in a gun safe, but I really just want to turn them all over to the police and be done with it. My husband said that they belong to Dylan now. And Dylan said that if I ever touch them, that he would contact his maternal grandparents, his paternal grandfather, my father passed away, and my mother is in hospice care, and have them tie me with lawsuits. I try to compromise and let him just keep his grandfather's, my father's hunting rifle, and I get drilled out, just for sentimental purposes. That made him curse me out. Dylan made good on his threat, and his maternal grandparents stormed in and said that they both were willing to cash in their retirement funds and sell their house and hire whatever lawyer that they could to tie me up in probate court and protect Dylan's property, to keep the peace. I made an agreement with them that Dylan's grandmother gets to stay in the brother's old house, Dylan stays with her, keeps going to school, and the grandparents take over the maintenance of the house and paying of the taxes. Dylan now refuses to talk to me, and my husband said that I showed an ugly side to him that he can't even believe, and that we should have been helping Dylan. He kept saying that Dylan was never going to be our child, that he was almost fully raised, and that all we had to do was honor my brother's wishes of keeping him safe. I feel like the whole world is against me. Am I the jerk for trying to keep my ideals and trying to impart them on my nephew? Alright folks, what do you think?
Yeah, I think OP's being a major jerk here. Now, I get not liking meat or guns. Like, I don't like those things either. But you have here a child who has been raised a certain way. And, like, I can understand if you want OP to, like, take him out hunting every weekend or something like that. Yeah, there are lines to draw. But wanting to have his own food that he's going to cook himself, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Having a photo, it sounds like in his bedroom. Like, I can understand not wanting the deer photo in a public space, but in his bedroom, you know, that's a private space. OP doesn't need to see it. And then, like, trying to get rid of the guns, like, that he has a strong attachment to. It just all seems like too much, especially while he's grieving on top of that.
Yeah, well, OP has, I think, is trying to insert themselves into Dylan's business and trying to mold him, is what it sounds like. Those guns were in a safe. They were locked away. They weren't going to hurt anyone. And that's an important fact here, right? Now, if there were guns just laying around out in the open, I
Mm-hmm.
could understand OP saying, look, I don't feel comfortable with going to this house and maintaining it while there are weapons that are left unsecured.
Right, and the thing is, like, if OP any step of the way decided she couldn't do this and wanted to abdicate this responsibility, it sounds like she could have. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
has his maternal grandparents who could help him out.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like, if she was not comfortable with having the meat or taking care of a house with guns, like, just abdicate that responsibility, but don't try and force this child to, like, all of a sudden become vegan and give up hunting and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that this was not the right approach. I think that OP took a very heavy handed approach. It sounds like they attempted to sell or get rid of the guns here. And those are, again, not OP's property. They're literally Dylan's property. You can't go and throw away other people's stuff without your permission. And I know OP's like, oh, get rid of my brother's stuff. You're not getting rid of your brother's stuff. You're getting rid of Dylan's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This belongs to Dylan. And like Amber said, you're making this like I know. Let me back up for a second. I know OP is having a difficult time adjusting to this, but think about how much of a difficult time Dylan is having to adjust to this new lifestyle. It's not even like he seems to have been like flaunting his lifestyle in OP's face or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. He's just trying to live and get along, right?
Right, he's just trying to survive to get to the end of the school,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just such a. I feel so bad for Dylan and all of this. You know,
Hmm.
it sounds like OP's husband is doing the right thing. Like, live and let live is the only kind of attitude you need in this situation. Like, just take a step back, let him do his thing, as long as it's not hurting you, impeding you in any way.
Yeah, exactly. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Stan says, you're the jerk. I probably agree with most of your beliefs, but I could not disagree more with how you chose to enforce them. And OP replies, okay, what did I do wrong? How could I have stayed true to my beliefs? OP, I'm gonna interject here. You were perfectly within your right to in order to enforce your beliefs, you don't have to enforce them onto other people.
Right, well, it seems like OP is like, if I don't conform everyone in my household to my beliefs, then I'm failing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good way of looking at it. It's about, are you yourself living by your principles? And it seems like OP's principles are, I have to convert everyone into my lifestyle,
Yeah.
which that's where it becomes a problem. Like, he wasn't asking you to start eating meat or to start hunting or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine this would be a completely different situation if Dylan was trying to like convert her into a
Mm-hmm.
like put hiding scraps of meat in her food or other types of things that would have been, ethically and morally wrong to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't sound like any of that was happening. And Love to RP4 says, your beliefs come at the expense of your nephew. Let's frame this in a different way. Let's say that your nephew was looking at a photo of him and his late father in a pride parade, and you wanted to toss that picture and find anything LGBTQ themed because I'm just stating my true beliefs. You would be a horrible person and even worse, guardian. And OP replies, but there are certain moral absolutes. I don't know that you can necessarily argue that in the I don't know that you can use that as a argument in this particular case here, right?
Right. I mean, this is about parenting decisions, not about, or, like raising a child decisions and not about, like, what if the shoe was on the other foot? What if OP lost her parents and was sent to live with her aunt and uncle who were like big time meat eaters and
Mm-hmm.
hunters, and like she just wanted to not eat meat and to be able to live peaceably in her room, and they wanted like deer heads up on the walls everywhere and like meat on her plate at all times. Like, that would be a horrible thing to do to a child.
Yeah. And again, like I certainly agree that there are certain things that are morally true, right? Like they're morally we know that it's wrong to murder, right? And uh there are certainly things that in this particular case, like if OP believes that something is morally untrue, but it's legal in society, the onus isn't on OP to change every single person. The onus is on OP to live a life that they feel reflects this moral absolute.
Right, and if this goes so far against her beliefs. Again, she could always have been like,
Yeah.
I can't be Dylan's guardian.
Exactly. And at that point in time, OP needs to abdicate that responsibility and say, look, I have a belief system that is too far out of line with my nephew's, and I can't in good conscience take care of him in a way that I feel would reflect my morals, and therefore I am going to give up this responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that they can go and give away their nephew's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Pay $150 for a plush toy that my dog destroyed? I was walking my golden retriever when we walked past one of my neighbors that had a 6-year-old who was holding a stuffed dinosaur. My dog got excited and snatched the toy from her, which really spooked her and her parents. He was jumping around and shaking the toy for about a minute before I retrieved it and tried handing it back to my neighbors, but they wouldn't take it back because it had been in my dog's mouth. Weird, but it's their choice. So I told them to send me a link to wherever they got the toy from and I would buy their kid another one, which seemed to satisfy them. Anyways, I got back home and I see the link that they sent me and it's $150 from one of those custom stores. I texted them that I'll get a toy, which I kept with me and properly cleaned it and gave it back. I'm not paying that much for a toy just because they're grossed out by one being in my dog's mouth. The toy isn't broken or torn or anything, it was just dirty and wet, and once it's washed, it'll be fine. The neighbors are saying that this is inconsiderate of me, and if I'm not going to replace it, and that I shouldn't bother giving back the disgusting toy because they're not going to accept it, and said that I'm an irresponsible dog owner. I'm stumped right now because I know it's my fault. My dog took the toy, even though he's just 8 months old, but I have no idea why I should pay for a new one when the old one is perfectly salvageable. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yeah, I think OP's the jerk here. You should not have a dog that goes and jumps on kids and steals their toys. Like, this dog does not sound safe to have out in public. Why weren't you holding the leash like closer? Why were you letting your dog jump on random kids? He could have hurt the kid.
I mean, I think that this is a difficult situation in some respects, but I do think that OP is primarily the one at fault. Like Amber said, this dog should have been in a little better controlled, right? And so OP, it is their fault that their dog wasn't under better control and took this toy.
Like, if the dog had bit the kid, then the dog is going to be, put down. That's just a fact. And you need to keep a close eye on your dog so that it doesn't end badly for your dog, as well as for other people. Like, I understand this is a frustrating situation, but let this be a lesson that you cannot just let your dog go up and jump on random people and steal their stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I do sympathize with OP in the respect that I feel like they're being a little bit unreasonable with their demands to get a brand new toy. But again, this is something that they feel would make them whole. And it also doesn't sound like they are demanding that OP pay them. They just said that he should. It almost sounds like a suggestion that he should pay them back.
Yeah, it sounds like OP offered to buy the new toy. They sent the link, and OP's like, ah, ha, ha, no. And now they're like, oh, that's kind of rude of you.
Yeah, so it's not like they're sending them nasty grams or anything like that, or making demands, or sending them like a court order or anything to this degree. It just sounds like they thought that this was something that OP was going to do to make the situation better. And again, I do feel like OP is... I feel like it is a little unreasonable for them to just not have the toy clean, because it seems like a toy should be cleanable, especially one for a little kid. Like, what are they going to do when the kid chews on it or throws it in the dirt or any number of things, right?
Yeah, but there's a difference between having your kid chew on it and some random person's dog. Like, you don't know where that dog's been.
No, I agree. There is a difference between those two things. But all I'm saying is that a toy for a small child is bound to get grubby.
Oh, certainly. But, like, and I'm not saying that they should demand a whole new toy, but I can also understand being a little uncomfortable that a toy your kid might chew on, has been in a dog's mouth.
Yeah, exactly. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Pretzel Mama says, you're the jerk. Learn to control your dog, apologize for it scaring a child, and pay for what it damaged. If you crash your car, would you pay for the damages for a Ford but not a Mercedes? And OP replies, if I crash my Mercedes, should I be paying for a car to get it fixed or buying them a whole new Mercedes? I mean, that's an apt comparison, to be quite fair. And I know that OP is getting downvoted here a lot because, in general, you won't pay for a whole new car, but you'll pay for the damages, right? Well, insurance will pay for the damages.
But you are going to be required to pay for whatever insurance demands. You can't just decide, well, the Mercedes wasn't really totaled, I can just replace 3 parts and we're good.
Yeah, but I mean, again, the way insurance works is it covers the cost of the other person's repairs, so you wouldn't still be paying anything out of pocket.
Well, I mean, but I just mean the whole principle is it's not like OP would get to decide in that case either. The company that looks at the car would be like, yeah, it's totaled, it needs a replacement.
Yeah.
OP can't be like, well, no, I'm only going to pay replace with a Ford instead of a Mercedes or something like that.
I see. Yeah. And Ciela Cohen says, you're the jerk and you're an irresponsible dog owner. You don't control your dog. It was a toy, but it could have been something else, like a child or a pet. Clearly, you're not holding your dog correctly on a leash if he was able to grab a toy and you were not able to get it back immediately. Stop being a jerk. Order the toy and use this as a lesson. Get your dog, but especially you, trained. The daughter of a colleague of mine was bitten by a dog like yours, not properly trained and not under the owner's control. She was 7 and she will have scars all her life. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Sam, I'd like to become a computer engineer in outer space. Pam, do you think you could qualify? Sam, sure. I took up space in school.
I bet Sam did. And I have licorice spice. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, wonderful Wednesday, Hump Day, Friday, Junior's Eve. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please, have it on property.
Don't take other people's property and don't let your dog take other people's property.
Yeah. I mean, I think that works. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.